Artificial intelligence is remaking marketing as we speak, and if you're a marketer, you can either get up to speed or get left behind. The choice is yours, and really, it's a no-brainer. Join Geoff Livingston and Greg Verdino as they explore the latest AI news, trends, tools, and ideas that are creating the future of marketing today. This is No Brainer, an AI podcast for marketers. Oh, and just in case you're wondering, yes, I am an AI. Take it away, Geoff and Greg.
Hey, this is Greg Verdino. Welcome to No Brainer. I am here with Geoff Livingston. What's happening, my man?
Good to see you, my friend. We're in a new quarter. We're in April.
We are, and April showers are here in the Northeast, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. It's been a wet year so far, no doubt.
Absolutely. For anybody who is paying attention will notice that we are here with a guest this week. Geoff, do you want to introduce our friend?
Yeah, we have Steven Freidkin with us, who is the CEO of Ntiva. He's also the founder, and I knew him when he started it way back when, which was during, I think, the dot-com era, social media era, right there in the aughts, if I'm correct.
Absolutely, yeah. Good to be here.
And he's crushing it, folks. Ntiva is a nicely sized company. It's a 9-figure company that is serving small, medium enterprises with outsourced IT services. And as such, as we all know right now, given everything that's happening in the technology sector, he is on the front lines of what's happening with AI implementation. And we wanted to talk to somebody that's actually got his hands in it, literally with his customers. And Steven's got a lot of customers, so he's got a lot of perspective.
Thanks, Geoff. It's great to be here, guys.
Awesome
Great to have you,
my
friend.
All right, let's dive on in.
Sweet. So Steven, first of all, we all know that AI is older than ChatGPT, but obviously ChatGPT was this kind of zeitgeist moment, crossing the chasm, as we always talk about on the show. And so the last 18 months has been really kind of a different chapter in AI, and particularly with generative. So when you and your team are talking about AI internally, is it serious? Are you guys really bringing it into the fold? Is it becoming part of your operations, or is it just kind of like this kind of hype-based thing that we're seeing on the internet?
Sure. Thanks for stepping back and noting that this stuff has been around for a very long time, because it has, right? AI goes all the way back to the 1950s. But today, really what we're talking about, and you made it clear, is generative AI. And that's been around still for a while, but really hit the public once ChatGPT went live with it. And then, of course, everybody needed to respond and figure out, oh, hey, we've been working this in the closet for the last 10 years too. So, as it relates to Ntiva, we are all about technology enablement for our clients, helping them use technology while it's a competitive advantage and before it becomes a competitive necessity. So we're still in the stage here where we're looking at it as a competitive advantage opportunity. People are still figuring it out, but it's not just hype. So, at Ntiva, we're really doing 3 parallel efforts as it relates to generative AI. The first is what we're focused on internally, and that's a custom developed set of use cases that we have where we're using generative AI in a safe and secure way to improve our client and employee experience. And to just give you an example.
Like, what does that mean?
What does that mean, right? Look, we get in lots of tickets every day from customers. Hey, my thing's not working. Help me, whatever that might be. And, help me solve this problem. Those inbound tickets are now being read by a model that we've been putting in place. It parses it out and makes sure we understand what issues, because there may be more than one issue presented there, are being stated. So sometimes restating it to make it clear. It then looks at our internal database of available technicians and what skill sets and tickets they've worked on before, assigns intelligently to that technician, and then will provide that technician with the first 5 troubleshooting steps, both from our internal knowledge base of how we fixed that problem before at Ntiva for that customer or other customers, and then also from the external world, really pulling in, what's on the internet to troubleshoot or solve that.
Right.
In addition to that, it does sentiment analysis. And so what that means, what does that mean? So is that customer happy, pissed off, or meh? right? And the reality is we have so many rock star left brain technicians that we put through customer service training, but sometimes they don't know when to turn it on, turn it off, or whether the customer is even upset. So that ticket is now able to present in green, yellow, or red and allow there to be more awareness of that. And by the way, we are still in kind of the beta stages of this. So there's lots of improvements that are being made. But to give you perspective, and I mean, it is a big number, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not that big. We've probably put $150,000 of effort into this over a 6-month period of time, where this would conceptually be millions of dollars if we were even remotely considering it a few years ago. So it's kind of amazing what could happen. Yeah. So that's what we're doing internally. That same team that's supporting us internally is our digital transformation team. Okay. And they're also a group that we have doing custom projects and consulting work for clients that are out there. So at the same time that we're doing this internally, that team has also positioned themselves to do custom work with our clients, doing similar things to what I described we're doing for them.
So like call center types of applications, that kind of...
Could be call center. It's really like anywhere that there are kind of repeat steps, there's an opportunity to use this technology to automate.
Yes.
Really ensuring that they're done right every single time and allowing the human to do that which only they can do, right? And thus making themselves more efficient. So all sorts of different cases, but that's the idea. So that practice area, we're now actively marketing our ability to do this. But like over, I'd say the last 6 months, it's really been ramping up to get here and doing the work internally on our efforts to kind of prove out the thesis. And then finally, and this is more scaled, we're really invested in kind of what I would call the skewed generative AI products. And in the moment, while we're a vendor agnostic company, in the moment, we're really doubling down with Microsoft Copilot. And that's right. The Copilot case that is like the Microsoft ChatGPT that operates in Edge, as well as leave it to Microsoft for making this confusing is all hell. But Copilot for Microsoft 365, which then kind of integrates with the entire Microsoft Office suite to do some really cool stuff. And we can get into that detail. But the bottom line is that kind of skewed group, we've got all of these products available. We're able to bring them to market. We're able to share them with our clients. And, it's just super exciting.
So I think to me, one of the things that I hear it sounds promising, but what's the actual demand, right? Yeah. So I think this is something that we see a lot of where we see a lot of companies that are very interested in talking about AI, but they're just gathering data. They're gathering information. Maybe they're seeing how safe it is, how unsafe it is. They kind of want to see how other people fare with it first before they engage in it. And I know you have a fair amount of companies, and they're not the, shall we say, the Yum brands of the world, right? They're the companies that probably have to have a little external help to get this stuff done. So what's the hunger for it within the client base? How real is it? Is it just evangelists at this point, or is it something you're seeing across the base?
Sure. So, look, from our perspective, we're not pushing this on anyone yet.
Right.
Okay. So
is there a reason for that?
Yeah, we want to bring it when we know exactly how to describe to the customer the immediate ROI and give them use cases of how others have done it.
Right. So of understanding that kind of
Yeah. So we use it ourselves. We use the skewed products. We use the custom development work. We've got a couple of custom development projects in the works, and we haven't marketed Copilot to our customers yet. But we've had 9 customers come to us going, we've heard about it, we want it, give it to us. And we said, okay, no problem. So they're going. And then what you're going to see in the next month or so is we have targeted communication and campaigns to our customers, informing them and educating them about the skewed products and just letting them know what it's coming, how it works, what it does, that we know about it, that we could do it now, but we're still learning for the best use cases. But we do expect to go and start recommending it to our clients once we can be very clear with their industry and their company of what it can do for them that's safe, that more than outweighs the investment associated with it. With that said, I see that all the time. Like, it's super, it's got a great return on investment in many cases. Just marketing alone, writing a press release for someone, it used to be an 8-hour effort with a few rounds of back and forth. It's now about a 45-minute effort. And so if you just look at that and you say, look, our lead marketing person, I'm making up all of these parameters here, makes $100,000 a year, which is the equivalent of $50 an hour, based on a $2,000 an hour a year schedule. Microsoft wants a $30 per month add-on for one seat, right? That one press release paid for itself, right? And so that's before you get into multiple press releases or other use cases. So really, you can start to see how easy this will be for people to adopt.
Yeah. Greg, you...
Yeah, I'm there's so much I feel like I could reel back all the way to the beginning of the conversation and probably pester you with 1,000 questions. But just queuing off of the last thing you said, there is an incredible opportunity for people in a wide variety of functions to really ramp up their productivity. Right, you described one that is obviously very close to the hearts and pocketbooks of our listeners, which is a marketing use case, right? That, head of marketing taking 45 minutes to do a press release instead of 8 hours. Do you see that as a double-edged sword? See, and what I mean by that is a lot of our listeners would love to experience that kind of productivity, but get really concerned that when that kind of productivity is possible, organizations will be less likely to staff their marketing departments because now anybody can create a press release in 45 minutes. So as a CEO, what's your perspective? How do you think about that to make sure humans don't get disintermediated in a process like that?
It's tough, right? So another podcast for another day, but like, my purpose in life is to grow people, to grow each other, to grow myself, right? So I'm very much for the growth of human beings and not necessarily having technology somehow impede or alter that, right? So, with that said, there's a lot of fear of AI coming and taking people's jobs. What I would say is, maybe that's an issue in the future, but right now, the people whose jobs are at risk are the people who aren't spending the time using this, right? So it's really, their jobs are going to be taken by people who know how to use this tool. Because as the CEO of a company, I'm not saying I don't want a marketing person.
Right.
But if my marketing person can now, we use one example, but if that person can do twice as much as they could do before by leveraging a tool like this,
they don't want to. What does that say about them?
Right. Right. And that's sort of the perspective here. So it's not, it's scary, but if you're not going to step in and learn, then it's a problem, and you're going to eventually have employment issues, right? If you're going to step in and learn, you'll be fine. And, I'll tell you, it's been now probably 18 months since I went to my team and I was like, here, we're going to take a 15-minute-a-day challenge. All of you are going to get ChatGPT. I'm going to pay for it. And every day for at least 15 minutes a day, you're going to use it for something. It can be for your family. It can be for work. We'll talk about how to keep it safe and secure. That's a separate issue. But you need to use it.
Are you a GPT guy? Do you like GPT more than the other engines?
Well, at that time, it was only GPT, right? So we were all GPT at that time. And it was really 15 minutes a day. And the amazing use cases that came from just experimenting was great. And I'll say, and Greg, I want to take back to something I learned just the other day, the rule of 100. And the rule of 100 is this simple concept that if you put 100 hours a year into something, you will be at the 95 or 95th percentile of human beings that know how to do that thing. Whatever that thing is, play piano, work with ChatGPT. That's 17 minutes a day if you just divide it across the year.
Boy, you're making me think about Malcolm Gladwell with his 10,000 hour spiel. All right, Malcolm, go away. I only need 100.
Well, I mean, you from there you got to put a lot more work to get to the next level. But the point is, you'd have enough knowledge at 17 minutes a day to not have any concern about you being replaced with somebody that knows how to use this tool.
That's really powerful. I guess one of the questions I have is what are the conversations with the folks that aren't quick to adopt it with you? I mean, are they asking you really basic questions? Is it fearful? Like, what's the market temperature on it, if you would?
Yeah. So remember, we're not hard pushing yet.
Right.
We're not going to, guys, it's time. It's time. If you don't do it now, you're missing the boat. So we've not gotten into that conversation because I don't believe that yet. So what I'll say to my, colleagues and friends is like, just start playing, start experimenting. We think that's worth it. But I'm not coming to you and saying you must do this to stay ahead.
Right.
Right.
So you're saying like, look, don't miss it. But I'm not telling you that you have to get this integrated across your entire Office suite.
Correct. And full transparency, what we want to do as the trusted advisor to our clients is we want to make sure they know we're on top of this. And if they're interested in being early adopters, we're here. But when the time is right and we say, hey, for $30 per user per month, here are the benefits you're going to get. It'll pay for itself in 2 weeks. We expect people are going to trust that and be ready at that.
It's interesting because you're talking, I think, primarily about two broad, I don't want to call them use cases, but I'm going to do it anyway. And then Geoff will get angry at me and tell me that's not a use case. But
that's not a use case, Greg.
Two broad scenarios, right? One scenario is very much a plug and play scenario, right? That's $30 a month. It's already baked into your Microsoft, your Office 365. You turn it on, you experiment with it, you find the ways it makes your work better, you use it, and you have immediate productivity gains. The other was the first example you gave, which was the way your organization is using artificial intelligence to optimize your ticket system, right? Which I think that when we talk to organizations, a lot of these organizations think they can get the $30 thing with the kind of sophisticated implementation you described that cost you so far $150,000. And they're they just don't understand that some of these more sophisticated, really, really impactful implementations at the enterprise level require investment, require a much more holistic view of artificial intelligence and machine learning and custom development and the integration of proprietary data and all these things that make them work. So kind of how do you reconcile those two things, the plug and play with the sophisticated approach?
First thing, I need to hit the cowbell because Greg got use case correct.
Well done, Greg. Look, so this is why I wanted to clarify they're two separate things, right? So in terms of the mass-produced skewed products, it can do a lot for you. But what we're focusing our customers on right now, our first focused campaign, and it's coming out today, is around AI readiness. Okay, we're calling it's Copilot readiness, right? So this is a little crude, but the best way I've seen this depicted is in a meme, and it's the poop emoticon with a picture of Copilot, which is rainbows, and then coming out the other end is a rainbow colored poop emoticon, right? So garbage in, garbage out with just a pretty wrap around it, right? Like that's the truth.
I love that.
So we're focused on right now is making sure that customers are ready. What does that mean? That means we're going in and making sure the right permissions are on their files for things to be read. They've got the right licensing in place and the right versions of the software talking to each other the right way so that when they're ready to turn this on, they're not just getting pretty poop on the other end of it, okay? So that's what we're doing there, and we're trying to be very transparent about it. Right. In terms of the larger scale custom development efforts.
The enterprise efforts, right?
Yeah, that's a whole different story. And that's where we get into, well, you have a specific workflow and challenge that we want to work on with you. We have, IT advisors that work closely with clients that hear those opportunities, that see when there are multiple systems in place, and look for opportunities to bring to them ideas where, yes, it may be $100,000, $200,000 investment, but you are removing double data entry. You're saving more than that every year, and you're improving your client experience.
Yeah.
So
That's
maybe
a harder, longer process.
Right.
Maybe it's me, but I think maybe some of my frustration with AI just generally is I feel like the conversation is all about the individual productivity apps, right? And I feel like the enterprise implementation is the second flavor, the deep flavor, if you would, or the real meal is where it's at, right? Like to me, that is the interesting part. That's what I was working on before the whole GPT thing happened, at least helping people to implement it or market those solutions, those larger enterprise grade solutions. And I'm wondering like what it's going to take for people to stop thinking of AI as, oh, I got a GPT integrated into my Microsoft Word implementation and start thinking about this real use that's going to really dramatically drive my business into a new direction or my job into a new direction or make us stand out competitively. So I guess this is a segue. I mean, like, is all this Copilot integration or however people are adopting it within their enterprise, because I know that there are definitely different flavors as you do too. Is Copilot really just a gateway drug to this larger enterprise use case?
Yeah. So let me zoom out for a second. You mentioned I've been doing this for a long time. You were one of my first 10 customers back in the day. I probably helped fix your computers myself, right? And
yeah, I think you did actually.
Sorry. Sorry if I broke something.
Hey man, you seem to have done pretty well, so right. I'm proud of you, bro.
Thank you, I appreciate it. So look, every wave of technology is exactly like this. With all love, you need to reset your expectations. I mean that like that way. So
damn.
Look, think about it. Think about it.
You lost them.
Let's use the cloud as an example, right? The cloud had been around forever, right? Just doing something on some other computer. But at some point, Microsoft, Google, etc., Amazon got everybody talking about the cloud, and everybody's like, I got to be in the cloud, right? And as soon as those conversations started to happen, then we were able to start to have customers coming to us willing to be educated. Before that, it's, you don't know what's going to happen. So what I would say is, yes, things like ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot are the gateway drugs. They have wonderful use cases that are separate from all the amazing custom stuff you can do. And maybe that's all you wind up with. But once people are kind of in tune with it, then they're going to start asking questions and going, well, what else can I do, right? I can get a much better high from this than I can just the basic Copilot.
So what does Copilot and marijuana have in common? Gateway drugs. Just say no. All right, no, I'm sorry. That's not what this show's about. But kind of another angle on it, though, is this integration side of it, right? Where we're seeing it also in Adobe. We're seeing it, I think I saw it in a couple of the QuickBooks applications or related applications.
It's showing up everywhere, right?
I saw it. I went to Denny's for breakfast at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and their menu was powered by AI. Everything's powered by AI now, right?
Right.
So all of these basically...
It's like a social media comment box. We're social.
Right. Well, exactly. Right. Exactly. So the point is, if you're not hearing these vendors, whether the integrations are real and functional and working and really adding a lot of value or not, many are not. If you're not there, you've missed the latest trend, and people are not going to be even considering you for their products, right? Yeah. So going back to, I'm going to bring it back to people, right?
I still won't consider Denny's even with AI, but
I'm going to bring it back to people. You brought up the marketing person before, right? If I was looking for a marketing person to hire in my company, I am going to look for somebody that has experience with AI on their resume. If they don't have it, chances are I'm going to pass over them. Just like if I was looking at Adobe versus Foxit. Sorry, I'm making it up. And one is on the AI train and the other is not. before I make a decision, I'm going to want to go with the one that's on the train because that's where the puck is
Yeah.
going, right?
Right.
Yep. I guess what that leads to, I guess, would be a question of related to the people, to the technology, not the people. Is it is getting baked into everything. It's part of Office. It's part of your Google Suite, whatever that is called. I don't even know, Google Apps or whatever. It's in Adobe applications. It's in Airtable. It's in HubSpot. It's in Salesforce. It's in ... And you say, as you say, if it's not baked into your technology product, then maybe your technology product is falling behind. So I guess the question that raises is, for those kinds of AI use cases, which are predominantly generative AI right now for the most part, does generative AI just become a feature that's baked into everything, and the user just comes to expect that functionality, doesn't even realize potentially they're using AI, but it's just the way they use the application?
The answer is yes, right? so at some point, every application is going to have some flavor of this. And full transparency, before I let my team just go to town and take our ticketing system and generate APIs and custom develop software, that same vendor, I'll keep their name off this for the moment, they had this massive pitch last November. They are ready. They have launched this. It is working. It does all the things I described to you with the tickets, right? Everything. But the reality is, when I went to go trial it, because I'd much rather pay $500 a month for this add-on than I would having made this investment and have this custom development piece, very quickly I learned it doesn't do it. I can't control the security. I'm too scaled to take that risk at our size. And frankly, I don't want to be beholden to that one software vendor. So Greg, that's what I'm trying to get to your point. So it's yes, and in some cases you might want an overlay. I'm gonna make a very ridiculous example, but you don't want to have a relationship with Siri and Cortana and whatever, Alexa, and have different relationships with different things that don't get to really give you all the benefit of knowing you, and then all of your workflows and kind of tying it all together, right?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, we're seeing that too, just generally. There's just a lot of crap solutions that promise a lot and under-deliver.
Right.
Yeah.
And people are rushing, right? Because it's the buzzword. So you got to say you're in the cloud. You got to say you've got AI. And some is real and some is not. And so, my advice to everyone here is, try it, evaluate it, get testimonials.
And move on quick.
Yeah. And I would say also apply some critical thinking as to whether or not, number one, the AI is
that sounds like a no-brainer
in a particular scenario, right? But then also that it's real, right? You've got to actually check to see that this stuff is real. Because taking ourselves out of the world of software, you're seeing generative AI powered refrigerators and toothbrushes and all this other stuff.
We even saw a toilet come out of CES,
right? And you start to ask yourself, number one, do I want and need AI in my toilet seat? But number two, is it even really?
My kid would argue yes.
On that note, why don't we take a little break? Why don't we take a little break for a couple of minutes from our sponsors, and we'll be back with more Steven in just a few minutes.
All right, we're back, folks. Steven, I think our last conversation, aside from the CES toilet reference, sorry, Lisa, we know you're listening.
Hey, I'd buy it.
Yeah. We have a regular listener who's a good friend, but she always nails me for saying the worst things on the podcast possible, which is just another issue altogether. Because unfortunately, this is just Geoff. But all jokes aside, we were talking a little bit about the guardrail conversation, and we find that that's the real thing that has to happen for people to want to adopt AI, that safety. And you were talking about with your own enterprise, right? I'm looking at this software. I'm looking to see whether or not the security measures are in place. We see a lot of customers looking to see whether or not the intellectual property measures are in place. They also, rightly, when they start thinking about implementing, start discussing things like, do we have the training in place to show people how to actually use this? We find, and we make a kind of a joke, and I don't know, Greg, correct me here, like 80% of this game is not the actual technology. It's getting people ready to use it and also making sure that the technology is safe to use.
Yep.
Okay, next question.
Look, the answer is yes, right? So along with my statement of 15 minutes a day, use it, play with it, right? You have to be aware that unless you know the security and controls of what you've got in place here, anything you put into it could be used somewhere else. And I've got some hilarious stories. If we have time, we can talk about it later. But like where companies have made up different drug names and like just for fun, like made up a test marketing study. And then like 4 months later, they're doing some research using the same model and it outputs their fake drug as a potential solution, right? So like the point I'm making is AI is not always right? But what it is it's confident. And so sometimes it can be confidently wrong. So it's very important, and I'm mixing different concepts here, but it's very important you're still using critical thinking, you're using your brain, you're validating information that comes out of it, but that you're also not giving it information that you don't want it to have.
So it's qualitatively Twitter is what you're telling me?
Yeah, something like that. But so the idea now with Copilot for M365 as an example, if you're using the chat feature in it, it's got automatic DLP, data loss prevention. It's already looking for credit card numbers, social security numbers, things like that. You've got giant warnings on your screen of what you can share, what you can't, and where you are. And when you have the deployment internal, while it's checking the external large language model and returning information, your data is never leaving, right? So I can have it run an analysis on my P&L for this period to this period and come up with trends. And even though those numbers are going in, it's never leaving and being stored in a model outside of what I have in my environment. So just understanding this and making sure it's the right permission, structure, and security measures are in place for you are critical. And then I would say, you brought up education. Policies are so important. And it's not just writing it so you cover your rear end, right? But it's like actually understanding with great power comes great responsibility. And this tool can do a lot for you, but here are the things that you need to look out. And here are our rules of engagement of how we use this. And of course we say that, and then anytime we can to get the technology to automate that and protect people from making the mistake, we do as well. So the commitment is you don't upload any customer information, right? That's the commitment. Everybody signs off on it. But then at the same time, we are putting in criteria into the M365 solution as an example with Copilot that says, if this comes here, it never leaves your network, right? And then it alerts, it triggers, et cetera, et cetera.
Makes a lot of sense. So let's say you're playing counselor, right? Pick your counselor, right? But you're that person that talks to folks. And you're talking to the tech sector. And guys like me and Greg and everybody, even your own team, folks are trying to make this happen for businesses. What do we need to do better as a sector to really make this a win for businesses?
It's a great question. To me, and I shared this a little bit before, like I live to grow each other and learn and have a growth mindset. And like, that's my currency, right? Like that's why I do this. So for starters, I would say, just like what we're doing today, I hope, is focus on education, like valuable education of what's out there and just kind of giving the high level of what we've been discussing. But then I'd go the next step, and maybe I'm going to use this word wrong, I'm nervous, but really start to give people ideas of the use cases, right? So, as an example, I was doing the 15-minute a day challenge, and I have it up on the left side of my screen. I'm maybe 33 days in, and I get this giant legal contract from a vendor for Ntiva for an $8,000 a year contract, right? So for our size, I mean, it's meaningful money, but it's not enough for me to turn on my law firm and pay them $2,500 and wait 3 weeks for them to get back to me. But I have this 13-page legal document associated with this $8,000 contract. So I'm just curious, and I drop it in to ChatGPT, which I had to the left. And my first question was, can you summarize this for me and let me know the risks I have as the buyer of these services? That's all I asked. And it took like a good minute and a half because I guess it read it.
Yeah.
And then it just output 2-paragraph summary of the contract and then 13 bullet points of risks that I'd be taking on as a buyer based on the contract language. And I was like, whoa. And then I was like, can you please draft me an email asking to remove these risks and or make them mutual? And 10 seconds later, I get a draft email that I send back to the vendor. Like, by the way, of the 13 things, like 9 were real and 4 made no sense. So I deleted those, right? So again, you got to use your brain.
Yep.
Sent it over to the vendor. They're like, okay, redlined agreement back. And I was done. It took me like, I don't know, 2 hours. And I swear it would have taken 2 weeks and a couple grand easy with attorneys to get to that same outcome.
Wow.
But that's what I mean. Like, I never would have even thought to do that if I didn't have that up and I wasn't like, I don't want to read this document.
Yeah. The summarization capability is really amazing. Like,
so what do we do, right? Like, what do we do as leaders in this space? We get to play. We get to hopefully do it knowing what is safe and secure, where others may not have the same education. And then once we're done doing both, we have the obligation, as far as I'm concerned, to educate others.
Yeah. To your point on this, go ahead, Greg.
No, I just love, I'm thinking back to the 15-minute challenge, and I know you derived that from this 100-hour rule, but it's just such a simple thing to do. And I remember Geoff and I love to share these stories from back in the dim, dark days of social media. And I remember working with...
Stop talking about Friendster.
I remember in the earlier days of social, working with a leadership team, a C-suite from a fairly large organization that had a fairly draconian view of social media for the business, and actually gave them the challenge and held them to the challenge for 30 days of spending 15 minutes doing specific things in social. I had to give them specific tasks because they couldn't imagine what they would do on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn even. To them, it was like, that's not for us. And actually gave them 15 minutes a day of stuff to do. And it was a vehicle for creating a mind shift and some momentum and some firsthand experience. And so it's a great idea, and it's such a low commitment for any leader. And there aren't many marketing leaders who aren't playing with this stuff a little bit, but certainly many marketers are working.
If there are, would you want them leading your marketing?
Right, exactly. But certainly their peers might be saying, no, I'm not touching this stuff. Or I used ChatGPT once in February of 23, and that was enough for me, which of course we know is not true.
Yep.
Yeah. The summarization thing is really interesting too, because we used it to help a publication summarize all of its articles for its readers. But they also are a small publication, and they wanted to look at maybe creating some larger feature articles. So they had me just screw around with the engine. And it's basically GPT-3.5 Turbo integrated into the article base. And, and I just started popping trends questions. What are the biggest trends in this part of the sector? And right away it pops like the 5 highest or most popular news stories, which are probably pretty obvious to anybody that's in the sector, but maybe you would have missed one, right? And then I had it expand on each of those. And next thing you know, we had a 2,500 word article, just like that. And it needed some brush up and some cleanup, but it was literally, it pulled a 2,500 word trend article in literally 20 minutes, and then the editing and redrafting process, an hour.
For sure.
Right?
I had a late night at work, a couple of issues blew up, and I knew I was going to get in trouble at home from the wife. And so, very quickly I
opened my mouth and I'm in trouble. I know that's not shocking.
Writing a poem in the tone of Snoop Dogg to get me out of trouble and apologize, right? And so, I did a couple edits, but that was a good 3 minutes with a great return on time investment there.
There you go. So now Snoop Dogg on ChatGPT is the new flowers.
Exactly.
There you go.
Got to be creative.
All right, last question for you. We'll get you out of here because I know you got a lot of business that you're cooking up right now. AGI. I mean, obviously, this seems to be the next pivot for the hype cycle. Is it hype, or do you really see artificial general intelligence or sentient AI, as it was called academically? I don't know if AGI is that anymore. Is it something that's real, or how do people digest this?
Yeah. So look, let's back up, right? Like I just get out of the buzzwords and the acronyms and stuff like that. So what we're really talking about here is AI that can learn more on its own and adjust its models accordingly, right? Like, is that fair?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
kind of like bad Facebook.
Yeah. Sure. But like it yes, the answer is yes. It is real. It frankly is already here in many cases, and at some point when we can understand the right controls, it's going to learn, right? It's going to learn, it's going to grow, it's going to change based on the inputs that it's getting and the knowledge that it's learning, if you will. So yeah, I mean, I absolutely see it coming, but again, garbage in, garbage out, and there's got to be some level of oversight to make sure it's what it's learning is what society wants it to learn, right? Like, so I liken it to like Wikipedia. Wikipedia is a great tool. And the way it works is, the whole world is inputting information, but then it's getting validated by other human beings going, okay, yeah, Steven is the founder of Ntiva. It's agreed data before it just gets put out there as fact, right? So there needs to be some of that in the mix. I don't know where it comes or whether that in itself is another set of AI that does that. But it's real. It's coming. I don't think it's fantasy.
Outstanding. Do you have any last minute things or funny stories you want to throw at us, or are you good?
No, I don't. I'm grateful for your time. If there's questions or things to follow up on, I'm happy to help. But it's been an honor just to be able to hang out today.
Well, thank you for bringing us the real perspective on the front line, Steven, and it's really great to hear from you folks. If you're looking for IT services or some IT group to basically help you get your stuff going, please consider Ntiva and Steven Freidkin and his great team. How big are you guys now, Steven?
We're about 500 full-time employees. We have a few regions in the country that we focus on, but we're exclusively focused on really that small and mid-size company market, right? So no government, no large enterprise. Like, our goal is to help small and mid-sized businesses use technology to grow and become better.
Right, which of course is an incredible mission in a world where all of these technologies, AI included, can be a great leveler of the playing field, right? And enable these smaller organizations to really punch above their weight. Where can people find you if they want to connect?
Yeah, thank you. Well, you can obviously check out our website, which is www.ntiva.com. That's N as in Nancy, T as in Tom, I as in Igloo, V as in Victor, A as in Alpha.com. You can also email me at Steven, Steven, @ntiva.com. Or I'll even throw out a phone number. It's 703-738-2905. And happy to help anyone.
Okay, I'm not responsible for all the crazy texts you're about to get.
Not my cell phone, by the way.
All right, there you go.
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Have a good one.